Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show's being recorded for Sunday, August 4th, 2024. Show's actually being recorded on Saturday, August 3rd, 2024, and then posted live on Sunday morning, August 4th. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. A quick footnote, my office was looking at some of the stats on the channel, and about 1/3 of all the viewers of this channel have not subscribed. And it's a great help to the channel if you subscribe. If you find value in the content and would like us to support these kind of shows each week, if you could just do us a simple favor, just subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps the channel. So thank you for all that. I want to get that quick little messaging out there. These shows are composed of questions that we receive in our community board. Put out a request each week. If you watch the channel all the time, you know how we work this. There's something over 400 questions again this week. My wife goes through them, selects a batch of questions that I answer for you here real time. On today's show, I think we have 63 questions. So we'll try to get through all of those here for you in about an hour's time. I want to start off real quickly just with a couple of, this is going to be kind of a heavy news week. And I thought I'd go through just a couple of high level elements before we go into the countdown of the 63 questions. The first is that, we know Kamala Harris is going to select her running mate this week, and I see a very aggressive travel schedule coming up across a lot of key battleground states. So look forward to that happening. Second thing is there are new stages coming up here in the Israeli-Iran conflict, and I do see a lot of worldwide support to try to curtail so this doesn't spread across the entire Middle East, including the U.S., putting a lot of resources in the area. So that's certainly coming up this week. And then also the start of the Judge Chutkan January 6th insurrection. I call it a pre-trial, but where she goes through all the evidence and determines what can be included against former President 45 and what cannot. And this aligns with that three-tier strategy I've talked about many times. Just before the immunity decision came down from the Supreme Court, I saw it as a three-stage element. Things that the president was immune from, things that he was not immune from as a second tier. And then the third tier was having what I call mini trials prior to the major trials to discern what that third tier was all about, what could be included in immunity defense and what could not be included in immunity defense on a specific trial. So we're seeing that kind of third leg of the three-tier Supreme Court decision coming down. That'll be starting up this week. So I don't see a major trial coming up before the election, but I do see like this I'll call it a mini trial or preliminary trial with Judge Chutkan, and I think it's like it's going to start off this week. So a couple of high-level items I thought would be helpful to kind of align us with what's going on this week. Let's get into the countdown then for this week. So question 63. Hi, Sterling and team. Is Joe Biden at peace with his decision to bow out of his presidential position? Yes, I believe he believes in his heart he made the right decision for himself, the country, and kind of the world going forward. And I still see him playing a very important role in the administration going forward, behind the scenes, helping with diplomacy and strategy and a lot of relationships around the world. So he'll still be very active. Okay, question 62. Hello, Sterling and team. Now that the Hamas leader has been eliminated, how does this impact the situation in the greater Middle East? Yeah, I mean, this is going to cause some escalation and retaliation, as we all know. I do see a lot of world countries, just as we were talking about here in the very beginning of the show. Leader's name was Ismail Haniyeh, I believe that I pronounce it. But there's going to be an escalation here, but looks like it's not going to fan out into an entire Middle East meltdown. But it's a little bit of, a tit for tat going on here between Israel and Hamas. So it's a bit of an issue going on, and we're going to see that play out this week. 61. I'd like to know what occurred between 45 and Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago Is it legal for 45 to meet secretly with world leaders since he is no longer president? Is 45 undermining President Biden's power by doing this? I do see that for entertainment purposes only, they discuss some strategy to try to destabilize the Middle East and to try to allow Netanyahu to stay in power. I think we already saw some of that play out here in the attack on the Hamas leader. So there's some strategy going on there in order almost for both 45 and Netanyahu to be able to somehow create chaos and stay in power. So yeah, it's true. 60, hi Sterling. If we have condensed our timeline by about 8 years, could that mean that 30-year reset might only take 22 years? No, the 30-year reset that my team always talks about, the thousands of guides and angels running from the year 2020 to 2050, still stands. You can have elements within a timeline that will accelerate or decelerate. That's very true. But it's not going to change the overall 3-decade reset for a lot of things going on the planet. Full disclosure of extraterrestrials, new science breakthroughs in gene editing, world peace coming, two-state solution in the Middle East, a lot of things happening here, but didn't accelerate it by years. But what it did do, and I've talked to my team about this, avoided a major nuclear conflict that would have occurred in 2028 and 2029. So yeah, so that's the good news there. 59. Hello, Sterling and team. If Kamala Harris jumped ahead, is it her policies that save us from a nuclear disaster in 2028, 2029? If a Republican is in the White House after Kamala, what will those policies prevent them from starting nuclear war? Yeah, I think we just touched on this in the prior question. So it accelerated a timeline for the presidency, for the first woman president, and actually is going to create better balance and stability going forward. So I think we did address that. Okay, 58 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. Will the Democrats have a contingency plan in place for any manipulation of the election done by GOP or 45 and his conspirators? Yes, I already see a plan being put in place by a lot of Democrats and federal agencies to cross-check not only voting but electors, and yeah, it's going to be a fight to the death, so to speak. A lot of chaos, but I do see a lot of everybody's prepared for it, believe it or not. The federal government and a lot of the Democratic Party and independents are all prepared for what's coming up. So there's going to be a lot of fighting, a lot of court cases going on, but I do see a lot of cross-checking and auditing and kind of double ensuring that the election is fair. 57. Will Anthony or Tony Blinken stay on as Secretary of State in the Harris administration? It looks like he's going to be like a consultant, but looks like he may leave um, within the first part of the administration. Not because he's not doing a good job, but almost like because he's tired. It's like there's something here where he wants to make a shift. 56. Hi, Sterling and team. What do you see happening with the stock market between now and election day? Do you see it going down to its all-time lows for the year or crashing? For entertainment purposes only, I see a lot of, big swings in the stock market, but we're still going to hit like record highs here and there. So a lot of cycles going on because there's a lot of, unrest around the election. But overall, it looks like the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 will still occasionally here hit a few record highs, but big cycles, right? Deep cycles back and forth. 55. For-profit news media outlets have proliferated in the past few decades to the extreme detriment of unbiased information. When will the day come when the print electronic television news is nonprofit and nonpartisan, including lack of influence from owners or board members with their own agendas pushing their way forward? This is really only going to take place when a lot of streaming and digital platforms take off that don't have the same constraints that a lot of the current public news stream medias have. They're fighting for viewership, for eyeballs, so to speak, that connects to ad revenue. So sensationalistic and opinionated news is driving viewership. It looks like to me, not going to see a big change in cable or terrestrial broadcast news, but you're going to see a lot of changes coming up around a number of streaming platforms. They're going to become kind of uh, more the litmus test for what is the real news. 54. Can you comment on the cat lady movement? I just think it's incredible being a childless cat lady myself. I really feel there is something about the cats. Yeah, this is like an untapped segment of the population that JD Vance walked into and created a lot of chaos here. Um, it really has energized. So if you say, can we make any comments about the cat lady movement? It's a number of segments in the population that are energized by the Kamala Harris presidential run here. And for me, it just looks like it's wakened up a lot of different segments of the population. 53. By the way, they're just remind me, cats, all animals are from the angelic realm, and they're here with unconditional love. And so, actually, not just cats, but horses, dogs, even reptiles, birds, parrots, cockatoos, right? They're all of them. 53. Hi, Sterling and team. I recently discovered that my home is sitting directly on a ley line. I've always felt that this house was built for me. What do your guys have to say about ley lines? Well, ley lines connect magnetic energy centers around the Earth. They tend to be, I mean, energetically, they feel very grounding. They actually connect major magnetic energy centers. There are millions of ley lines on Earth. But in terms of the house being built for you, whoever asked this question, if you're in the house and you're feeling comfortable, and I don't have your name, but that is always, it's like part of a life path. When that works out that way and you feel comfortable and you feel it's built for you, that's resonating with your angelic team. So, yeah, but ley lines are lines that connect major magnetic energy centers on the Earth, and there are millions. 52. Sterling and team, my little sister's dog, Tubbs, died a few days ago, and my sister said to me, I hope he knows I loved him. I know he loved me. Do animals know how much we love them? Yes, so we were just touching on this. All animals are from the angelic realm. They come down unconditional love. They're down here to teach us lessons of the heart. So be cognizant of the lessons you're supposed to learn. And a lot of times animals are down here not only teach us about love, but it's like self-love, how to accept love for ourselves and how to give love to others. 51. Hi, Sterling. Understanding that the GOP Republicans will do anything and everything to refuse to certify the outcome of the upcoming election, how long do you think it will take for Kamala Harris to officially take office? I see she'll take office officially right around, January 20th inauguration, but there's going to be a lot of fighting, a lot of court cases, a lot of challenges. It's going to go on for months. But I do see her, transacting the duty as president. There'll be enormous, popular vote and even electoral college win for her, but a lot of challenges. So on or around January 20th, around like inauguration, I do see her starting to take the helm. 50. Hi, Sterling and team. I live in mid-Missouri, and I would like to know if you see a severe earthquake anytime soon for us. In fact, I see many earthquakes in that area around the 2.0 or 2.5 Richter scale rating. And there is like a 4 or 5 coming up middle of next year. So a lot of activity in that area. 49. Will the astronauts on the Boeing Starliner return safely to Earth via Boeing or another space shuttle? They've been stuck there for nearly 2 months instead of 5 days as originally planned. Yes, and this is all part of the predictions that my team had done, myself and my team, months ago when Boeing was having all the problems. We mentioned space problems, Starliner problems, and so I did see a big delay in the astronauts getting back. It looks like they'll eventually come back on the Boeing Starliner, but it looks like it's weeks out to me at this point. 48. Hello, Sterling. After watching the dynamic duo of John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock on stage at the VP Harris, I guess, rally in Atlanta on Tuesday, July 30th, it made me very curious about the future of these gentlemen. Can you inform us what you see for the future as for their future as politicians. I see them holding on to their congressional seats, or they're already kind of in Congress. But in a few years going out here, it looks like they're going to start to take White House positions. So transfer kind of out of Congress into White House positions. It's not like that's happening right away, but down the road here, it could be in a couple of years. 47. Hello, Sterling and Guys. What will happen to Democratic House Representative Katie Porter? Will Harris find a position in the White House for Katie, perhaps Secretary of Commerce? Yeah, I've talked on this before. I originally said I did not see Katie Porter winning the congressional seat in California. I think that was going to Adam Schiff. But I did see her taking a position in the White House eventually, and it looked like it was like Commerce Secretary. And I believe my guides had actually, my angels had predicted that. So it looks like that resonates still around what they're saying. 46. Hi, Sterling. What is the one source, one force? Is it just energy? If we ask angels and spirit guides for help, does this one source hear us too? Yeah, the one source, the one force is actually a very large spiritual entity, a consciousness. So it's not a being, it's larger than that. It's omnipotent, omnipresent, all powerful in everywhere all at once. It's infinite. But it is, you can think of it as a consciousness, but is a huge energy that's responsible for everything in the universe. And yes, the one source, the one force, we are all connected to the one source, one force, like drops of water in the ocean. And the spiritual consciousness does hear us. 45. Why do deer meet for an hour every summer evening at Nara, Japan, near the National Museum as an unexplained phenomenon? I get they were protected by ancient Japanese civilizations in that area, whereas like deer populations may have been not protected in other areas of Japan. And so this is like kind of an ancestral thing that they feel safe in that region, and they feel protected based on what the ancestors did in that region. 44. When we are working on genealogy, do our families on the other side have any reaction? Do they know what we're doing? Do they try to help us or encourage us, or are they ambivalent to it all? Interestingly enough, they have no real connection to any of the genealogy down here on Earth. What I mean by that is part of a human experience. When the other side, you merge back into your unique spiritual family of thousands of members, but they have no real direct connection to the humanity or the human connection going on down here. Because while people may drop, let's say, ancestral connections, maybe people in Europe or Asia or Africa, when you go back to the other side, those are all human traits. And when you get back to your unique spiritual soul family, it's quite different. 43, hi, Sterling and team. Will there ever be a time in our society when drinking alcoholic beverages is not trendy and or completely drops out of our culture? When will humans move away from drinking at bars, socializing with alcohol? It's alcohol is going to be part of our culture for like another 100 years, but it's actually going to start drifting over the next 3 decades to something that's less desirable, less healthy. Um, yeah, it's not going to be used to, let's say, sway people in the future. A lot of branding and advertising. So big shift in alcohol consumption, the way it's looked at over the next 3 decades, but kind of around our culture for like another 100 years. Doesn't mean it's all going to drop away, but they have much less of an impact on society. 42, hello, Sterling and team. I have noticed that the Canadian conservatives often use the same keywords and slogans as the American Republicans associated with Project 2025. Is the Canadian Party connected with Project 2025 group? Yes, absolutely. There's like far right radical elements worldwide around the US, Canada, other regions of Europe. They just use different names, but the methodology and kind of things that are in Project 2025 are very similar. And it's interesting, that's just a name right now for these 900-page document, but that the concept and everything in Project 2025 has been around for many years, even all the way back to like the Reagan years in the 80s. Just went by different names. It's evolved over time. But yes, it impacts a lot of areas worldwide. Okay, 41 in the countdown. Was the UFO sighting near Spain's Ibiza location this week real, and will more information come out on it? I get this is absolutely real. These were like what they call like the Tic Tac UFOs, the same ones experienced by the Air Force years ago. Yeah, it's all real. And many of the Tic Tac sightings, some of them are shuttle ships moving people between Earth and motherships for extraterrestrials. Others are actually ET drones doing kind of surveillance. But I do get these were like what they call like the Tic Tac UAPs, real. 40, Sterling, the Heritage Foundation president Kevin Roberts was recently quoted as saying they're winning in ways the other side does not know yet, and they're not going to tell us everything that's coming. What does this mean? Are Republicans planning to refuse to certify the election, forcing a Supreme Court ruling, or is the decision to be made by the House of Representatives, which has a Republican majority? Or are they basically trying the same scheme as last time? They have electors who will not certify the election results. If so, will they succeed? It's all part of a larger plan to steal the election. I get it. This is all something that we're actually going to have to be working through with the courts. Yes, Supreme Court get involved, Congress will get involved, but it won't stop Kamala Harris from like taking the reins of power kind of soon thereafter, like January 20th of 2025. So it's all coming. But the good news is that a lot of times we've seen this show before, so to speak. We've seen what they do and what's going on. And with any side, anytime you have elements in any kind of political landscape, they're trying to do things that don't represent the will of the people. You have problems. Yes, we have problems coming up, and this is it's gonna take months to clear up. Okay, 39, the countdown. Can you look to see if 45 and the GOP are planning to steal the next election using friends on the Supreme Court, not waiting around for election results? They have 70 election deniers that have been put in place in election offices by 45 in swing states. They may refuse the election results. Are Republicans counting on the election results not being certified and throwing out things at all costs? Kind of repeat a little bit of question 40, but the answer is the same. All it's true, but I see the federal government and Democratic Party and a lot of lawyers are already involved in all of this to circumvent, to try to stop a lot of the problems are going to come up around the election. Now, there's going to be a huge landslide number of votes for Kamala Harris. But yeah, so all this is true. So kind of question 40 and question 39, the countdown, are a little bit connected here. 38, thank you, Sterling, and your whole team. Watching the tremendous wildfire activity in California, like the Park Fire, has me wondering whether there will be new technologies coming out to make firefighting less dangerous and or more effective in the future. Perhaps drone technologies can be used. I do see that within just a few years here, like 5 years, there's going to be a brand new breed of fire retardant sprays. They're going to be far more effective at sapping out the oxygen from fires. So some new technology coming here within 5 years or less. There'll be a non-toxic fire retardant technology because it looks like it'll lay down the fires like almost immediately wherever this retardant is placed. Interesting. It looks like there can be some pre-applications in certain areas. Yeah, so all this is coming, and my team's saying that new technology is coming out of Asia. So the new technology development for fire retardant coming out of Asia, specifically Japan. 37, hello, Sterling. I have a question about the Arizona elections. Do you think that the abortion initiative will pass? Yes, it appears it will remain on the ballot for the election, and it appears it'll pass. Um, I even see like some anti-abortion groups like dropping out of the challenge, which is kind of interesting. So it looks like it will stay on the Arizona ballot for the election, and it looks like it'll pass. That gives that applies to abortion rights. That's giving is reproductive rights for women, allowing and giving reproductive rights. 36, do the difference in blood types affect the capability of digesting different foods and or being susceptible to different diseases and ailments? Will gene editing, CRISPR technology affect the blood gene type of gene? Well, yes, absolutely. Everything that we take in, food-wise, dietary-wise, is directly either complemented or not complemented by our blood type. A great book out there, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, is a great, kind of a reference in that area. It's true. CRISPR gene editing technology will optimize the way the body handles certain ailments. That's all very true. But kind of two complementary topics here: your blood type and the types of foods that are good for you or not good for you, and then the ways that gene editing CRISPR technology will help circumvent and kind of tap down ailments and diseases in society. 35. If Democrats win the election this time, will the Republicans continue to try and get Project 2025 implemented in 2029 and any future elections? Well, yes, absolutely. And again, this is something that's never stopped, even since the Reagan years. What was that, 1981 to 1988 or 89? But this document has been around in one form or another. It will continue to be around. It may change names, but what's in it will continue to move forward. Not always successfully, but it'll continue to be a factor in elections. 34. Hello, Sterling. A little more than 2 decades ago, I was leaving work and the neighborhood dog came up to me and wouldn't leave me alone for about 6 to 7 minutes. I drove home but had to detour. Just over the bridge, there had just occurred a bad accident. I always felt like Charlie the dog saved my life that night and my birth angel sent him. Yes, absolutely. This is a great example of how your birth angels will interact with elements, birds, animals, if they need to kind of deviate you on your path or help save you. So, great example. Thanks for sharing that. 33. Will the crooked Venezuelan presidential election results stand? No, they're actually going to get overturned within a few months here with a lot of worldwide enforcement support for Venezuela. It's going to take a few months here, it looks like, in order for the election results then to get overturned to the rightful winner. 32. On July 29th, between 8:15 and 9 o'clock, my husband, son, and I observed 15 pulsing orange spherical UAPs going one by one across the clear sky from southeast to northwest over Dothan, Alabama. There would be a flash like lightning, followed by the appearance of an orb that looked like pulsing plasma when we zoomed in with our phone cameras. They appeared to be releasing some kind of plume, only visible with the infrared camera. Some would change from orange to white. There was an ion type smell that went away when they stopped coming around. What were these objects and smell? Is there a portal? If these are ETs, what are they doing? What they need? Yeah, these were ET shuttle ships, is what I'm getting. They're smaller ships. They use anti-gravity propulsion systems. That creates a plasma effect around the ship, which you can see. It's all part of the anti-gravity propulsion system, which we're very aware of, very familiar with. Many world governments, including the US government, are aware of the technology. That's what creates that ion smell. And yeah, so these were shuttle ships. They were extraterrestrial ships. And in many cases, I said they shuttle individuals back and forth between Earth and other locations. 30. Hi, Sterling. I'm new to your channel. I just found out about the Sage Wall in Montana. Could you and your guides tell me how old it is, who built it, and what its purpose? These were built like millions of years ago, like 70 or 75 million years ago, they're telling me. And part of it was like being it's a protection, there's a protection and a landing zone for extraterrestrial ships. So I'm not sure what they're protecting here in that area, whether there was some water or some other natural force in that area, like it's a protection, and also serve to kind of support what I'll call an ET airport in that area. Mhm. 29. Hi, Sterling. I'm wondering if you can tell me how Meriwether Lewis, the personal secretary to President Thomas Jefferson, died. Was it murder or suicide? I get this was absolutely a suicide, and based on years of like mental health issues, and very unfortunate, but looks like a suicide, not a murder to me. 28. Can you say something about the afterlife and the light tunnel as some channels here on YouTube describe it as a false light to trick you into being reincarnated once again. If there's some truth to this, and are we really tricked by some dark entities this way? No, this is just a passageway to the heaven dimension. So you're not being tricked. You have free will on the other side. There aren't dark energies. What's interesting is that when you actually start to transition, it's your birth angels to help guide you, the ones that have been with you your whole life. And that part of that light tunnel is the easy transition from this dimension, the Earth dimension, 3D, into a 5D dimension, which is got nonlinear time elements to it. It's heaven, moves faster than the speed of light. But no, it's not a trick, not dark energies, but your birth angels guide you through. And normally you start, now you see your birth angels initially, but then start to see family members you're very close to, or friends, people, even animals, your favorite animals, dogs, cats. It's a gradual progression, but it's not a trick to get you to reincarnate. You have free will on the other side as to whether you want to reincarnate or not. 27. Hi, Sterling and team. I have a pre-birth memory of sitting before the council table. There was a being beside me to help me, and I perceived there were judges in front of us. They seemed to be beings of light and not with bodies. I was told about the lives I could choose. If I chose life A, I would learn that lesson. If I chose life B, would be a different life lesson. If I chose life C, I could learn about both lessons. I chose the third life, and it has been very difficult. I have the memory of coming down into my mother's body and felt great sadness. Can this be a real memory? This is absolutely a real life memory. You're an older soul. Many older souls pushing over 100 reincarnations can easily remember the birth experience, coming down, even in your mother's womb, and kind of making agreements with archangels, guides, the one source, the one force, agreeing to what your life path is going to be about. This is real. You'll find many people around the world have this exact same experience. 26. Hi, Sterling and team. Is there life on the seven Earthside planets of the TRAPPIST-1 star? Will we get disclosure in 2026? That star system's like 41 light years away, something like that from Earth. Yes, many, many different types of life forms, and disclosures already started to take place with scientists around the life forms that are there. It's going to take a few years for all this information to come out in public. So it won't be as fast as 2026 in terms of the life forms that are in the TRAPPIST-1 star. But I'm just getting confirmation here. A lot of life forms out there, Earth-sized planets, and many scientists are already aware of this. Interesting, it's only 41 light years away. So it's still a long, long ways away, but there are millions of star systems that are millions of light years away. 25. Hello, Sterling and team. My question is, do animals have a soul contract, and do they ascend higher in the angelic realm by their accomplishments? Yes, they all have soul contracts come down. Many times they're melded in with your unique soul family, and they're down here to teach us lessons. They're already come out of the angelic realm, so they're already pretty high and established once they cross over. There's a lot of transition upward for them. I see a lot of animals maintain that kind of very high position within the angelic realm. They're not angels, but they maintain that very high position. So they don't necessarily move as fast upward or in that nature the way humans do when they cross over. 24. Hi, Sterling and team. Being that our timeline with the first female president has sped up, does that mean only Kamala's timeline is condensed, or are other timelines, such as our own or medical advances that would take 10 years, would now take a shorter time? The world's timeline adapts around us. So there are unique elements of society that may have accelerations in their timeline, like presidencies, like leadership of countries. That can speed up access to resources and things like that, like money that goes into research around health or science. It doesn't in a linear way move everything up. Think about people's life paths, like a president, as being a slinky. I talked this about a slinky toy. It's all connected, but you can kind of move in and out, stretch it in and out. And so a lot of parallel life paths going on for all of us, meaning My life path may be in somewhat parallel to Kamala's, to somebody else's, but they all move in tandem in a way, even though there might be an acceleration, one of those life paths, like let's say for the president of the US. But it doesn't have a linear effect in accelerating everything, but it does affect world events. So, for example, accelerating a presidency can sometimes allow the world to deviate from other conflicts that would have come up much faster, like a nuclear conflict. 23, Iowa State Representative race, Democrat Ryan Melton versus incumbent Republican Randy Feenstra. Can and will Melton win this? It does not appear to me, and for entertainment purposes only, that Melton will win or be able to win. It looks like the incumbent Feenstra, so to say, is going to win. That's kind of what they're showing me right now. Yeah. It's kind of around a debate not happening. I don't know what that's all about. But it's like a debate doesn't happen, and then that's why the incumbent wins because he didn't get challenged, something of that nature. 22, hello Sterling and Mrs. Sterling and team. What is the future of Elon Musk's X platform, formerly known as Twitter? Elon Musk has set double standards regarding free speech on X. There was a fundraiser by white men for Vice President Harris that raised 200,000 for her campaign, and then Elon Musk shut down the X account for them. Will X ever be a source of good and respectful communication again? I see the X platform is going to be in a slow decline over the next 8 to 10 years here. Unfortunately, it's always going to be a controversial platform, and I'll be careful here, but it looks like it's going to be in a slow decline, and dovetails into hate speech. So it's not ever going to be a kind of shining white platform, so to speak, or shining star, if you will. It's going to be in a slow decline over the next 8 to 10 years here. 21, hi Sterling and team. Will there be a cure for sleep apnea in the future? The masks are a nightmare to use. I do see just within a few short years here, so again, like a 3 to 5 year time frame, new implantable devices. So there are already some implantable devices that help with sleep apnea, but I see like there's an acceleration of a brand new, I'll call nanotechnology, nano size. That means like nanometer technology, microprocessor, whatnot, that will be implanted. Some may be neurological, some may be in the chest area, but almost like put in like with an injection. Kind of reminds me, if you go way back, let's go way back into the 70s. There was a movie called Fantastic Voyage, and they injected like a shuttle ship with a number of scientists and whatnot into somebody's body. But I see like that nano-sized technology is getting implantable, and that's really going to help with sleep apnea. A lot of people are really going to move towards it and accept it. 20, Sterling, can a trickster spirit be someone's guide? No, they could never be a guide. Energetically, guides have reincarnated well over 100 times, sometimes 1,000 times. And many times they've been humans. They've walked the earth, they've walked the planet, they gained a lot of knowledge through a lot of reincarnations. So there's a higher energetic level and level of experience that it takes to be a guide. Trickster spirits, much lower level, and they are not they're not even given the opportunity to be a guide. They can't. 19, by the way, they could be annoying, but they can never be your guide. 19, hi Sterling and team. Love to you and your team and community. Question: what insight can your guides give us on the history between J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel, the wealthy billionaire individual who has reportedly been one of Vance's financial donors? I get they have a lot of, prior financial and business dealings around the Silicon Valley, and they've actually made some mutual promises to each other. I won't get into a lot of that detail, but there's some promises that were made there that if in fact, which won't happen, but if JD Vance were to get into the White House, even as a VP running mate, that there are promises being made of favors, let's say, that will be put out to individuals. So that's as far as I want to get into it, just for entertainment purposes only. But there's some promises that were made back and forth. 18, pathological demand avoidance, PDA, is a profile under autism, but PDA is not recognized or on the DSM-5 in the US. Many providers don't acknowledge it and aren't aware of it. Those with PDA have severe panic, trauma, and anxiety if they feel their autonomy or control is under threat, making it difficult for them to function in society. What do your guides say about PDA? What are the best accommodations for PDA? And will the US recognize this on the DSM-5? Will there be more awareness about PDA? I see a lot of world conferences around PDA. So these are big conferences or events where a lot of scientists and government come together or discussing PDA. It looks like over a decade here, so it's like another 10 years, could be a little faster. There is acceptance and recognition among the scientific community, and then also eventually around insurance companies for supporting it. But my team's saying a lot of major efforts around like world events, conferences, world leaders getting together, scientists, before all that's going to happen. So a little bit of a long haul here, a long pathway, but it is going to come. 17, Sterling and Spiritual Team. Will the 11th Circuit of Court Appeals make a judgment in the appealing of Cannon's ruling soon? Not soon, but looks like prior to the election. Looks like it'll be appealed in Jack Smith's favor in about 1 to 2 months. So does that put us up like October? So looking like won't allow an election to start, but it looks like I'm sorry, the major trial to start, but looks like it's going to be an appeal in 1 to 2 months in Jack Smith's favor. 16, hi Sterling and team. Will there be a cure for or advancement in the understanding of cause of lipedema soon? Is there any advice from guides? Again, I don't want to sound too redundant, but big progress being made in understanding which genes are causing this effect. I think that's like swelling up or water gathering in legs or the extremities, not a doctor. Right now it looks like there are advances maybe in like liposuction or something still coming up that can help manage the condition. Again, not a doctor here, but it does look like there's some gene advancements, understanding gene technology. And so we're then 5 to 8 years before something like that starts to come on the market, like a vaccine or a pill that starts to help with that. I see so many diseases for humanity making tremendous progress over the next 8 to 10 years here, mostly because of the breakthroughs around gene editing technology, and lipedema is one of them. 15, hello Sterling and team, and thank you. Since the VP certifies the election, will Kamala be able to certify her own election? We know that the MAGA element society will cause trouble with this. Yes, it looks like she'll be able to certify her own election, which will be kind of unusual, but looks like there'll be some sort of I don't know what this is all about. I don't know if they'll go back to the Constitution for this, but it looks like it's already somehow handled in the Constitution, and it looks like she will be able to certify her own election. But it's going to be challenged, a lot of court challenges. It's going to be a real rodeo for many months after the election. So everybody buckle up. But it looks like she will be able to certify her election. 14. Will Kamala Harris keep President Biden's cabinet and staff a successful team in place, or will she create a new one? Looks like she'll keep a lot of the same players, if you will, or cabinet members in place, and augment them with other cabinet members that even came out of like the Obama administration. So a lot's happening here. A lot of good people coming onto the ticket into the White House. Except for I saw earlier, I guess like Anthony Blinken may in a couple of years here move out, just being tired is what I'm getting. 13, hello Sterling and team. Under the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, there have been interesting finds, pools of mercury, a chamber insulated with mica and pyrite, spheres filled with clay, and other unknown substances. What was the pyramid used for? Who were the original builders? When, why did they leave? This is like a pyramid that were also like the ones that were developed in Egypt. So they had a couple of purposes. One was like dual purpose, like an altar to leaders at that time, leaders. but then also uses a battery. So there's a technology element of gaining energy from magnetic energy centers around the world and bringing in atmospheric electrical energy and then functioning like as a battery. So kind of a dual purpose, the same way the pyramids in Egypt were developed. 12. Hello, Sterling and team. Thank you for all you do. Is there a danger of a future 45-like politician? For example, Charlie Kirk is big MAGA influencer and seems to want to be the next 45. He is now in his early 30s. Yes, for entertainment purposes only, we'll have many MAGA style type leaders trying to enter the fray over many years. This will be an ongoing element in society. That's very true. At least for another 30 years here, right? During that 2020 to 2050 major 3-decade reset. But they won't be successful. 11, hi Sterling crew. Lots of news about GLP-1 like semaglutide medications altering addictions and overconsumption. Some people even report their shopping addictions being vastly reduced. Are they working with these drugs currently to use for many life-destroying addictions? For entertainment purposes only, I get absolutely yes, that they've already seen great results in the semaglutide and GLP-1 medications, curbing addictions. They've already seen some of this now. I'm just getting told here by scientists. So there'll be some ancillary group of medications developed that will address different areas, like even alcoholism, even gambling or something here. Yeah, so this is all coming up. Looks like some good attributes will come out from these medications. It's funny you're even saying like shopping addiction to me. I guess, yeah, it could be a shopping, just like gambling. 10. Will state hospitals ever be reinstated so there is a place for our mentally ill to seek help? And related to that, will families ever be given the freedom to seek help for an adult child without having to spend thousands of dollars on court costs to get them help? Too many families cannot afford the out-of-pocket cost. You know what? Unfortunately, I don't see major changes in this area for a good 5 to 6 years here. Some new legislation coming in that's going to make it easier for families, to help the mentally ill, so to speak. But we got a good 5 to 6 years here before a lot of this kind of comes into play. So, like, at least one new additional presidential cycle here. And then we start to get a lot. So I think the longest thing is going to take place in the courts. Because I see like financial assistance coming for families to do this, but then like there's a lot of court things that have to be changed. 9, hi Sterling and team. You've mentioned last week that Kamala Harris was always meant to be the president. It's just happening earlier. You also spoke about it preventing a possible nuclear conflict in 2028. Do you see Kamala Harris being a 1 or 2-term president? And do you see the nuclear program being pushed out in the future, or is that gone away? I do see Kamala Harris being a 2-term president. I do. And I do see that nuclear conflict that my team was talking about in 2028, 2029 being pushed way out. And way out means another decade or two here. But looks like even, we have a lot of support from the extraterrestrial groups to stop any kind of annihilation of the planet. So things are working here the way they're supposed to, according to the Akashic records. This acceleration in time in the presidency for the first woman president, I do see her as a 2-term president. So congratulations to her. 8, hi Sterling. You predicted that more than 200 million voters would turn out in the November presidential election. Does that mean that Kamala will win in a landslide, or what will be her margin of victory? Also, will the Democrats still take the House and Senate? I still see, I hate to use the term landslide election. It's going to be a fight to the end. Biden was ahead in the popular vote by like 7 million votes. I think it's going to be much more than that for Kamala. So maybe it's 10 or 20 million votes, there's going to be a big push over the top. But for some reason, it still feels close to me, even though that sounds counterintuitive, because all the fighting in the courts and challenging where the votes came from. But yes, I do see Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate as a result of the election. 7, we all know that the celestial phenomenon, the skies of Nuremberg in the year 1561, was likely one of the earliest documented extraterrestrial events. What exactly was happening with this incident? Were extraterrestrial species at war with each other as the Nuremberg residents watched from below? If so, why were they at war? It's described that large rods and globes were fighting among themselves and eventually crashed to Earth, leaving immense smoke. There was a similar incident in 1566 over Basel, Switzerland. This was a battle between Palladians and reptilians. Now, reptilians, by and large, are not that angry or want to have war, but there's a small contingent of reptilians, and there was a reptilian battle going on. Triangular ships and the cigar-shaped ships for Palladians, and they're talking about some of the spheres. So my team is saying that that was actually a battle, an extraterrestrial battle. There have been many over history, over millions of years. But that was tapped down by Palladians. And so yeah, it's interesting. I don't see any kind of that conflict coming up in our future, but we certainly had occurrences in the past. And those two events being referenced here, I think of 1561 in Nuremberg, and they were saying 1566 over Basel, Switzerland, both kind of related to the same sort of a war between Palladians and a very small faction, if you will, of reptilians. 6. Sterling and team, sending love and light to everyone out there. Pete Buttigieg is an amazing person with the highest intellect and character. We would be truly blessed to have him as VP, especially since he works so well with Kamala Harris already. With the shifting in records, what is Pete's place and timing in our executive branch of government going forward? Um, I don't have, whenever I look at the Kamala Harris selection, it could already be made by the time this show's out. There's just a lot of good movement around all these potential candidates. I don't get, my team's not telling me who the winner is going to be. I think it'd be wonderful. Pete Buttigieg was selected as the VP. We'll have to see here. I don't get the firm answer. It looks like a lot of things are going on right now. So, yeah, wonderful. Looks like he'll eventually have a place in the White House. Just can't tell you exactly when. 5. Hello, Sterling. I once heard my name called by a woman in my house, but I didn't feel anyone. The next day, my husband had the same thing happen to him. He told me later that day who was calling our names. This was a family relative for you, so it appears it may be like a mother energy. This is either direct mother or grandmother. But they're trying to align with you for some reason to get some recognition. They feel they want to let you know they're around. So I'm getting a mother energy, and it looks like it's related to both of you. Now, sometimes you can be very close to your in-laws, so to speak. Yeah, definitely a mother energy. 4. Will the compression in timelines make the introduction of extraterrestrials or hybrids happen sooner than the original estimate of several years? Those who will be frightened until they see what can be accomplished with extraterrestrial assistance. Those who see their money stream affected, like the military or industrial complex, will never be happy. The rest of the world would love to see good things coming sooner. It does not directly affect the full disclosure of extraterrestrials. Remember, we're going to start to happen over the next couple of years here. Hybrids will first be introduced to the world populations, followed by many extraterrestrial species. But it's not accelerating that timeline specifically. 3. Will CRISPR gene editing technology ever cure baldness? Yes, so this relates directly to identifying the genes that create baldness in men and women. And that gene will be identified within the next number of years, but I don't see any serious medications coming out for like another 15 years, 1-5. And that's really due to the fact that a lot of companies working on CRISPR technology, vaccines, and medications are working on neurological diseases, Alzheimer's, curing pancreatic cancer, breast cancer. A lot of those are going to take predominantly a lot of the effort and money and investment. Curing baldness, is down the line. And number 2 and number 1, I always take notes before I start the show, so we'll read those back to you. Number 2, what is coming up this week? Continuation of new F-16s and aerial support coming into Ukraine that will help turn the tide of the war against Russia. Number two here, new Kamala Harris VP running mate being announced very, very shortly. We're on top of that right now. And along with aggressive new travel schedules in the key battleground states. New aggression and strikes between Israel and Iran, with Israel backed up from support by many world countries, including the U.S. And of course, then this all comes out due to the assassination of the Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, as I pronounce it. Preliminary evidence assessment trial starting in Judge Chutkan's Jack Smith January 6th insurrection case. We talked about that. So that preliminary trial is starting out to assess the evidence around that immunity defense. New government programs coming out here for border protection and migrant immigrant processing, I see coming up. Also, new Secret Service mandates for protection around political figures involving new drone technology. So it looks like a bigger use of drones to protect political leaders. It's interesting. And then number one in a countdown at the end here. Do you have anything your guides want to share? Drive to be the best you can be in life, not the best your family or friends think you should be. Do not confuse your path with those around you. This will limit your progress and overall success in life. And on that completes the show here being recorded for Sunday, August 4th, 2024. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book a session tab. I know there's dates available now starting on the beginning of 2025, I think February, March, and April. And as always, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.